National Service themselves to carry out the residence.
Local communities are not only vital to the growth of society, but they also form the bedrock of humanitarian development.
Hello and welcome to this edition of The Reporter. The Reporter is a news and current affairs program that goes beyond the headlines, bringing reporters from the field to give first-hand accounts and in-depth analysis of unfolding issues, correspondence perspectives, ensuring balanced, credible, and comprehensive storytelling. Welcome once more. I am Aniete Patrick. Let's start with the President's letter to the National Assembly. President Bola Tinubu has urged the Senate to approve the implementation of the new external borrowing plan in the 2025 Appropriation Act to refinance maturing Eurobonds. Tinubu, in his letter read by the President of the Senate, Godswill Akpabio, during plenary, said action has become necessary to cover part of the budget deficit and ensure Nigeria meets its debt obligation. Our National Assembly correspondent Topsy Gimba has the details.
The President's request is titled Request for the Resolution of the National Assembly to Implement New External Borrowing in the 2025 Appropriation Act, refinance maturing Eurobonds, and issue debt sovereign sukuk in the international capital market. Tinubu said the purpose of the letter was to seek resolution of the Senate pursuant to the provisions of Section 21, Subsection 1 and 27, Subsection 1 of the Debt Management Office Established Act 2023 to implement the new external borrowing of 1.84 trillion naira, equivalent to USD $1.22 at the budget exchange rate of USD 1.00/1.5 US dollars in the 2025 Appropriation Act for the part financing of the budget deficit. He said the facility will be assessed through any of the following channels in the international capital market, ICM, issuance of the Eurobonds, loan syndications, budget finance facility from the book runners, and direct borrowing from the international financial institution. He also requested a resolution to issue a stand-alone debt sovereign sukuk of up to $5 million in the ICM without credit enhancements guaranteed. He therefore invited the Senate to approve the loan. The loan was referred to the Senate Committee on Loans, Local Foreign Debts. Topsy Gimba reporting for Global TV News.
And joining me live in the studio is our National Assembly correspondent, Mr. Gimba, who is going to give us a rundown to how all of this is going to play, because a whole lot of questions is around this external borrowing. Topsy, it's good to have you in the studio.
Thank you for having me, Aniete.
Well, there's a whole lot of conversation, and Nigerians who want to understand. President Bola Tinubu has written to the House of Representatives and also written to the Senate seeking approval to implement new external borrowing in the 2025 Appropriation Act, refinancing maturing Eurobonds, and also issue $500 million sovereign sukuk in international markets. Let's come think about, do you support this plan to borrow and refinance given Nigeria's current debt profile, or should the government focus on cutting down spending and also boosting revenue instead of borrowing?
Yeah, okay, that's very interesting with this question, Anita. Well, if you look at the borrowings the present administration have been embarking upon since it came into power, it shows some kind of concern. But again, if any government that needs to actually work like the way Tinubu intends to do in this country, in the present administration, you should expect that we need to have borrowings from other financial institutions across the world. But of course, Nigerians are not so happy for the fact that we keep borrowing, for the fact that we keep mentioning high figures. All of these borrowings create some kind of panic in the minds of Nigerians. believing that nobody goes to borrow that does not pay interest.
Exactly.
And so if you go to borrow and you collect that huge amount of money, you then will be paying what will Nigerians get after he leaves office? No talk about the generation yet born. And so that's the aspect most of us are a little bit concerned about it.
Okay.
But of course, he needs to really do that, because what we have right now in the country is not enough to actually fund what he intends to do in trying to developing the country in the way it should be, or to stabilize the economy. And so, but again, it's necessary that no country lives in isolation.
Exactly.
Yeah, so you are not an island to yourself.
No, you're not, of course.
So you need to really borrow, and it's not a crime to borrow. But again, are you borrowing to go and marry wives or be drinking beer in some beer parlors? That's the question.
But that's the question a lot of Nigerians want to find, because it looks like every year when it comes to talk about the Budget and Appropriation Act and all that, it comes around this borrowing, and it becomes just like you said, generation yet unborn will be the ones to pay all of the interest accumulated over time. And let's look at the proposal. The president's proposal includes raising over $2.3 billion through the Eurobonds, loan syndication, and also the international financial institutions to fund the 2025 budget deficits and infrastructure projects. Yes, we agree that you want to look into the infrastructure projects, but do you believe borrowing from international markets will help stabilize Nigeria's economy and the fund development, or could it deepen the country's debt? But in the long run, because all of this conversation is what we're looking at, because the debt is deepening the more. So even if you are going to fix infrastructural deficit and all that, you should look at the options, the back and forth, to see where it stands to favor in the long run.
Sure. That's a concern, really, like you rightly mentioned in this particular aspect. But again, if you check the Nigeria, to mention a figure on a particular year as budget for a country like the Nigeria is, if there's no cash backing, because this money that the president often tables before National Assembly as a budget of a particular year does not have cash backing, it then means we are running at a deficit. And so if the government wants to really run fully, it must go out to borrow. Because we don't have institutions to generate money. It's only from places like customs, and many other places that generate a little bit of money. Otherwise, there's nothing practically, because we don't produce. And if a country does not produce but consumes, you should expect those countries to actually go to international financial institutions to look for money to fund those budgets. It will shock you to know that this present administration is still running 2024, 2025 budget concurrently, because there's no money. There's just money to announce trillions of naira, and there's no cash backing. One day, can the president or the administration, what can it do? So there must be money in the pocket. Otherwise, nothing can actually move. But again, the more we can expect, when they collect this huge amount of money they're getting for financial institutions, let them plow it in the aspect that can generate money. Provide employment, not to do any other thing, either to pay workers. To collect loans, to pay salary. It's like you are gathering firewood to burn and collect ashes. That's the way it is.
All right, Gimba, it's good to always have you, because all of this is the questions running the minds of Nigerians, and they need clarity on the way forward to see, is this the way forward? Yes, we need the funds, but should we be indebted all our lives?
That's a question.
All right. Thank you so much, Gimba. Let's hope that we get the answers as time goes on. But let's move away from borrowing and look at the infrastructural issues also happening here in the Federal Capital Territory. The Federal Capital Territory Minister, Nyesom Wike, has flagged off a key project for the provision of engineering infrastructure to the Asokoro Guzape districts of the nation's capital. The project aims to enhance development, improve connectivity, and boost socio-economic growth across the Federal Capital Territory. Our correspondent, Kabir Hassan, has those details.
The flag off comes as part of the Federal Capital Territory Administration renewed agenda to boost infrastructure development across the nation's capital. The FCT Minister Nyesom Wike says the administration remains committed to the continuous provision of infrastructure across the Federal Capital Territory.
We will continue to provide basic infrastructure. We will continue to do all we can to see that Abuja takes a different look, competes with other cities of the world.
The project, with the provision of full engineering infrastructure to outstanding areas within the Asokoro Guzape district, is being expected to be completed within 18 months and will cover 24 short roads, totaling 9.2 kilometers. Wike commended President Bola Tinubu for keeping his promises under the Renewed Hope agenda, assuring that the FCT will continue to reflect the vision of the current administration.
Mr. President has promised all of us, not only just those in Abuja, those who are living outside Abuja, that we are different. And that's the essence of Renewed Hope agenda. If things were good, we wouldn't have had the Renewed Hope agenda.
The project, when completed, is expected to improve security, enhance accessibility, and raise the living standard of residents within the area, as the residents of the district say that the new infrastructure will further open up the area for development. Kabir Hassan, reporting for Global TV News.
And joining me live in the studio is our correspondent Kabir Hassan, who has been keeping tabs with developments in the Federal Capital Territory to give us updates on what the FCT minister has been doing thus far. Yes, we know him as Mr. Project, but let's find out from Kabir if really he's putting out his best. Kabir is going to have you in the studio.
Well done.
All right, let's get quickly to the conversation around and get clarity on what's happening. What impacts will the new engineering infrastructure projects in the Asokoro-Guzape district have on development and connectivity in the FCT? How would this bring about connectivity and development in the FCT, this new Guzape district?
All right, so you know the Guzape and the Asokoro district are currently facing the challenges of insecurity, which one of the main aim that the FCT has to curb out insecurity across the nation's capital. And by bringing this engineering infrastructure, for example, the lights, the culverts, and the roads, it will help by curbing out insecurity. Let's say, for example, last week, the FCT administration, the development control, has cracked down one site, which is a suspected area for bandits.
Okay.
Yeah, so they have cracked down that site and have revoked all, what's it called, certificates they give the CFO, RFO, or any of the land there. So that's part of the development of the administration to enhance the area and to ensure that there's peace, and there's peace in that area.
Okay, well, we know recent happening, we've seen a lot of issues around insecurity, just like you mentioned, following the recent robbery attack that happened in the house of our colleague in the other sister station. And then you mentioned the issue of infrastructural facilities put in place, also curb all of this. But we also have the issue of the sewage closed that is always stolen around the FCT. And you said they've also carved out areas where water can pass through, good road network to ensure that it's good. But all of this flag off, how has it also helped the FCT in terms of socio-economic value for the FCT?
We can say it has helped the FCT by assuring the FCT has been a good place for even visitors to come. Let's say the FCT now is working on there's an agenda they have, part of the president agenda, the Renewed Hope agenda, of ensuring that the nation's capital is in competition with other cities around the world.
Okay.
Yes, so they are ensuring that everything must be done properly by ensuring everything is going well.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for bringing us up to speed on that, and we hope that you keep tabs, because what we want is good comparison with other countries across the world, not just Africa, in terms of the capital city, to see that we have ourselves standing tall in terms of facilities. Thank you so much, Kabir, for being a part of the program. Let's move away from Kabir and tell you every other story happening around the FCT, because we've seen queues standing tall across the city, some parts of the FCT where there's panic buying of petroleum subsidy there. But let's quickly bring you that report from our correspondent, who told us earlier in the day that in some parts of the FCT, failed queues have resurfaced in some parts of the Federal Capital Territory as panic buying grips motorists across the city. The situation, which has persisted through the week, has raised concerns among residents about a possible return of fuel scarcity Global TV's Zarau Nasiru has the details.
Panic buying of petrol, often triggered by fears of supply shortages or price increase, has once again led to long queues at several filling stations in the Federal Capital Territory. Some motorists say the situation is worsened by the closure of other stations liking the product, leaving only NNPC outlets and a few major marketers dispensing fuel to the public.
It will be as a result of the Pengasting 3-day strike. I think they've called it off. Everything will soon return to normalcy.
Few filling stations, they are all shut down, no fuel. So to me, I'm beginning to think maybe the fuel subsidy is about to revolve again.
An official of one of the filling stations who spoke on condition of anonymity attributed the development to the ripple effect of last month's strike, which disrupted loading and distribution activities across depots. Nigerians are now calling on relevant authorities and stakeholders in the oil sector to address the situation promptly to prevent a full-blown fuel scarcity. Zarau Nasir, reporting for Global TV News.
Well, I have my correspondents joining me live here in the studio in person of Zara to give us updates on how she moved around the city to tell us what she saw on the field. Zara, it's good to have you. How are you doing, Zara? Zara, can you hear me?
Hello.
Zara, it's good to have you on the program. Okay, quickly, let's have a few. How have you noticed the return of fuel queues in your area, and how is it affecting your daily routine and also other Nigerians here in the FCT?
Well, and honestly speaking, and this does not affect my daily routine, but from Monday, from the beginning of this week, that is from Monday up to today, I observed that there is panic buy and a lot of motorists. You find that a lot of motorists are just on queue at the filling stations. So we were able to go around today to some of the filling stations here in Abuja to see what is happening.
Okay.
And we are able to speak to some of the motorists who speak to us about the recent development and what they think is the problem.
So, in your thoughts from what you gathered outside, do you think this current fuel situation in Abuja signals a looming scarcity, or is it just a temporary panic reaction for residents in the FCT?
Well, honestly speaking, people are afraid of maybe there may be fuel scarcity, because what we observe, I forgot to tell you, there is some kind of an increase in the liter, and that is NNPC is selling the liter 905, and other stations that are not NNPC are selling 915 to 920. So you can see that there is fear. Maybe there might be fuel scarcity. That was what even the motorists were able to tell us.
Well, Zara, we know that a lot of the concern is that no Nigeria or no one wants to go through that very sad encounter of having to queue instead of having his way straight up to his place of work or in everything. But we hope that you keep tabs with us and tell us what the situation will look like in the coming days.
Yes.
All right, thank you.
Can I hear you?
Thank you so much, Zara, for being a part of this particular segment of the report. And let's quickly move away from the FCT and go to the foreign scene and tell you stories happening in the foreign scene. The International Committee of the Red Cross says more than 80% of healthcare facilities have exhausted their supplies of essential medicines in Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo, where violence continues unabated. Head of the ICRC's DRC delegation, Francio Marinho, stated during a press conference in Kinshasa that the International Committee of the Red Cross is all the more alarmed as the situation on the ground is deteriorating. Our Foreign Affairs correspondent, Uyi Agumofebe, has more.
The M23, a Rwanda-backed armed group, seized the key cities of Goma, For 30 years, the country's mineral-rich east has been torn apart by conflict, with violence intensifying earlier this year since the M23, a Rwanda-backed armed group, seized the key cities of Goma,
Well, it's one concern to think of the issue of medicine for people to be stranded, not to have drugs in terms of medication for themselves. And if ICRC is looking at all of this conversation, it's actually one that we shouldn't take for granted. And joining me to have this conversation is our correspondent, who's going to give us heads up because he's been around all of this conversation to talk to us on what's happening around the Republic of Congo. And I have my delight to welcome my we're calling him co right now. That's my correspondent here, who I call him Prof. It's good to have you.
My pleasure, always, Aditi.
When I refer to you, Prof, I trust your sense of reasoning with me because there's a whole lot of conversation around this. But let's go straight to this. What is the International Committee of the Red Cross saying about this current state of healthcare facilities in Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo? Because this is really a big one for the Republic of Congo.
Yeah, of course, it is, Aditi, as you can imagine. Well, just like you have in every war-ravaged community or environment, health becomes an issue. Access to healthcare, of course, facilities would have been adversely affected and all of that. So, in the case of DRC Congo, the scenario is not quite different. And as you can imagine as well, our international community of the Red Cross, ICRC, is always on the ground for humanitarian purposes and all of that. So, the concern it is very particular about at this point is the shortage of medicine and how that it is worsening an already bad situation. Right. On the one hand, we understand, yes, there's some sort of peace that has been brokered by the U.S. Between Rwanda and the DRC Congo, because it's now been established that it is Rwanda that's backing the M23 rebels who are fighting the government of the DRC Congo, the DR Congo, I should say. But the issue is not so much about the war as it is about the sort of challenge it leaves behind, including the issue of medicine. And again, DRC Congo is a place where there has been conflict over mineral resources. All right, some people say it is the West that is driving all of this, so it can continue to plunder and exploit the country. But beyond all of that, the government looks overwhelmed because at a point it didn't have a choice than to reach an agreement with Rwanda to say we need to find some common ground in this area. While we can say, yes, the peace process is slow in itself, the point that the ICRC is making ultimately is to say that efforts must be ramped up to ensure that beyond even medicines, those who are being adversely impacted by this war are able to also have access to other essentials.
Well, it's actually one concern because, like we mentioned, we know the ICRC look into the issue of humanitarian crisis and all that. But at this point, where they are expressing the heightened concern over deteriorating situation in the region, it shows that it's getting beyond their control because that's one concern that one needs to pay attention to. So what else or what measures should they also look at apart from raising the alarm on this concern, basically?
It's very simple. Again, once the United States Agency for International Development, USAID, started pulling out from all these endeavors, all of these initiatives, it just made it obvious that there was going to be a challenge. And DRC Congo is one of those several challenges already popping up in our face as it stands right now. To answer your question very frankly, the UN is going to have to intervene beyond what it has already done so far. The African Union will also show how much they are throwing their weight behind this in terms of intervening from a purely humanitarian standpoint without having to take side. We're also sure to what the other multilateral institutions across African continents, including within that region, are doing to ensure that it doesn't become worse than it is right now? Because ultimately what you're looking at is a lot of resources will be required, right, to be able to drive supply of essentials to those who have been affected across different communities.
Okay.
In addition to that, this again highlights how that Africa as a continent, not just the RC Congo, has a whole lot of work to do in terms of how it should pursue peace, stability, political stability, and just ensure that it continues to entrench the rule of law, because that is what has led to where we are today.
Okay, well, we know all of this is what needs to be looked in terms of getting the results and ensure that people are safe, and no matter what the situation, and they have medicine, because health is wealth.
Right.
That's no matter what they're going. Thank you so much, Oyi. It's always a pleasure.
Right.
Thank you. Well, let's move away and tell you that it's been a whole lot happening across the nation and also around the world. That's the reason why we brought to you all of this on The Reporter. Well, this is where we have to draw the curtains on the program. We say thank you, our viewer, for always staying with us on The Reporter. A quick reminder that Global Television is on DSTV channel 365 and on Star Times channel 276. And to stay connected, kindly follow us across all our social media platforms at Global TV NG. Thank you so much. Until the next time when we come your way, I am Anieti Patrick. Bye for now.
Be mindful of how we use social media. It's not just about the platforms themselves.
To the preservation of the national unity and democratic stability.
Water is life, water is an essential service, and then we must have to carry out the residents.
Local communities are not only vital to the growth of society, but they also form the bedrock of humanitarian development.